It all started with a bike. My introduction into the realm of endurance sport, the subsequent search for self-improvement, and this desire to see what I was capable of. There's just something about climbing a scenic canyon road with nothing but this simple yet beautiful piece of modern art between your legs, a few dozen Swedish fish, and half of a squished pb+j in your back pocket. The feeling of descending back down that canyon, effortlessly gliding, a fresh perspective of the rising rock walls, the texture of the mountainside, and how the air starts to warm as you re-enter the valley. Cycling was the sport that taught me how to push harder, go farther, and to challenge myself physically. And my growth was always proportionately catered to how uncomfortable I was willing to make myself. It also taught me that I was capable of more than I had once believed, and that personal growth was indeed possible. But more than anything else, I loved it. I didn't know it at the time, but this was my fight against personal mediocrity, that enroaching state of a stale existence, looming in the shadows of comfort zones, leaving its victims anesthetized, numb to life. As I got better, I wanted to be faster, so I wanted faster bikes. And I was fortunate enough to have some great friends who helped me along the way, at times doubling the value of my car just by placing my bike on the top. Not that it was a lot. Cycling rapidly replaced video games as my go-to when I had free time. Hours staring at the screen became hours in the saddle. It became an addiction all on its own. And in that addiction came learning opportunities. I became very familiar with the N+1 rule, and the bikes started to accumulate. And this was now my vice. For better or for worse, I was hooked, and my accounts were drained. I know money can't buy happiness, but damn if these bikes didn't put a smile on my face. Each one serving its own purpose in a well-rounded stable. Shortly after falling in love with biking, nearly in tandem, my desire for self-improvement seeped into running, and running brought swimming along with it. Self-improvement became a drug. I hired a coach, then I became a coach, and I continued to accelerate my progress through consistent and mindful training. Then something happened. Mindfulness in endurance sport became mindfulness in everything. The quest for self-improvement started expanding past what my legs were capable of and became a desire to see what I was capable of. If I could improve in this area, what other areas could I improve? What I didn't realize is that my quads weren't the only thing that cycling was changing. The cognitive benefits of exercise had been culminating in my prefrontal cortex for years, setting me up for new endeavors out of the saddle. As the gateway to my self-progress, cycling and the bikes that came with it helped unlock a different version of me. More time in the saddle led to more time being present, and more presence was leading to a fuller life. I started looking for more opportunities to grow, implementing ideas, and trying to create a life that I wanted for the first time. When you are active, you sleep better, you have more energy, and you have passion. The benefits that come from exercise aren't just physical, though. They are deeply emotional and mental as well. If you want to dive into the full effects that exercise has on mental well-being, brain development, learning, and its ability to combat age-related cognitive decline, as well as depression, anxiety, and other mental disorders, I highly recommend checking out a book called Spark by John Rady. With the impact these carbon-framed freedom rigs had on me, it's no wonder I became so attached. As I kept growing, I started to recognize that I didn't need to define myself by an activity or by my race results. I chose to cut back on triathlon training in order to more fully give myself to new endeavors. And this meant selling a bike, or two. I was able to sell my road bike with only a few tears, but eventually it came time to sell my triathlon bike. And this was not easy. It was my third tri-bike, but this time he had no replacement. Triathlon had done so much to shape me into the human that I was, that not having a dedicated triathlon bike felt like chopping off a piece of who I was. But I knew the distance from training would help free up time and space for other ambitions, and that sometimes growth requires the shedding of an old skin. The introduction of this bike helped ease the burden of thinning the number of horses in the stable. After years of structured training for specific goals, this bike reminded me of the pure love of cycling, just for the hell of it. Going fast because I wanted to, and not because I had to. it was capable of anything. So was I. Through cycling, I have met many fine people. I have made friendships that will last a lifetime. I have experienced euphoric, life-changing moments of total exhilaration, moments of complete bliss, and many, many moments that challenged my mind. I have learned to recognize and work with pain and suffering, and learned to enjoy the climb as much as the descent. I will never regret days of draining my savings account for a bike, because I don't know where I would be without that experience today. Cycling's impact has been felt through all facets of my life. Cycling, along with triathlon, gifted me with dedication, friendships, knowledge, and confidence. And that was worth every penny spent. Even now, as I currently face challenging times, cycling is there for me. And when everything else falls apart, there's a bike. And should I one day reach a point where I am no longer able to ride a bike, I know that simply being in nature, pushing my body in any capacity, and being mindful of the present moment is all that I need to be reminded of the beauty of life. But it all started with a bike.